Good day, guys. Michelle from Bravo Migration here. Happy 2021. I do hope that this will be a tremendous year to all of us. And to kick things off, I'm here today to discuss the recent updates on the states and territories' requirements for nomination under the General Skilled Migration Program for the financial year 2020-2021. Now, as most of you already know, states only reopened their programs recently as they were still waiting on the federal government to allocate the number of spots to each of them. So without further ado, let's start with our beloved New South Wales, right? So New South Wales, in order to be considered for a state nomination, rule number one, you must have an occupation on the state's occupation list, right? Currently, however, they are only considering candidates with occupations in health, ICT, and some engineering occupations as well who are living in New South Wales and who are preferably working in their nominated occupations, all right? Now, for 190 candidates, the visa subclass 190, they will be selected considering in this order their number of points, level of English, and years of experience, all right? For 491 applications, first of all, 491 nominations, they have not started yet. Most likely, they will only start being accepted from February onwards. And applications will only be considered where, one, applicants been living in regional New South Wales and working in their nominated occupation for at least 12 months, or applicants who also have lived and studied in regional New South Wales for at least 2 years. And in this case, the studies as well, they must be closely related to the applicant's nominated occupation, right? But interestingly, there's another pathway, which is also within the living and working regional Australia category, but it's under the family ties category. So in cases like this, candidates would need a job offer for at least 12 months in their nominated occupation with a company that is located in a regional area, or they would also be considered for a state nomination under the 491 if they have close relatives that have been living in regional New South Wales for at least 2 years, right? 24 months. So in cases like this, the candidate may be considered for the 491. But again, guys, it's not open yet. Will most likely open in February, okay? Now, our next state would be the state of Victoria. So Victoria, at the moment, they're only considering applicants currently living in Victoria and who have been working for at least 3 to 6 months within the following areas: health, medical research, life science, agri-food, or digital sectors, all right? So it's very, very limited. In some, Victoria is only nominated candidates who are living and working in the region and who have their occupations on, the priority skills list as per the ones nominated by the federal government, all right, during the pandemic, during the COVID period. Now, other than Victoria, moving to South Australia. So South Australia, it's very interesting. They reopened the program with no specific state list, all right? So they don't have a list yet. What South Australia is doing, they are considering occupations on both the medium and long-term strategic skill list or the short-term skilled occupation list, okay? Now, the trade-off is that they will only consider applicants already living in South Australia and who have been working their nominated occupations for at least 3 months, all right? However, so that's the minimum requirement. However, they will prioritize those with at least 90 points on the points test and who have been working their nominated occupations for at least 12 months. So these candidates, if they do exist, they will be prioritized. Also, students who have completed their PhD or master's degree by research, okay, not by coursework, by research, these graduates will be exempt from the work experience requirement and will also be considered for nomination. Okay, so good news, South Australia, a bit more flexibility with the occupations, but obviously as a trade-off, a few extra requirements in terms of work experience and also living there. Now, to our beloved Queensland, the sunny state, Queensland unfortunately remains closed in general, with the only alternative being the small business owner pathway. All right, so this is a quite interesting one. Under this pathway, applicants must, to be considered, purchase a business in regional Queensland. So remember, regional Queensland for this purpose is any region in Queensland outside Brisbane, and invest at least $100,000 on such business. All right. Applicants must also have a visa that allows them to work full time, and they must have managed the business for at least 6 months on a full-time capacity prior to lodging their application or their consideration for a state nomination. Okay. Applicants must also have management skills or management experience to operate the business, and the company must employ at least one Australian citizen or permanent resident on a part-time basis to meet the basic criteria. So guys, again, it's not only about buying a business, it's not only about opening a business. Actually, this is about purchasing a business and make that investment. But again, you gotta make sure that you meet the other requirements, such as full-time work, which in most circumstances people only have such a condition when they're dependents on a master's degree, or if they have applied for a 485, for example. So pay a lot of attention on the requirements. Okay, now moving on, the next state on our list is WA, or Western Australia. Now, program is supposed to reopen by the end of January. Rules remain very, very similar to the ones from the previous years, available only for applicants already residing in WA. WA has 2 occupation lists, one for graduates and one for applicants who are not necessarily graduates. But in this case, the list is extremely limited, and the majority of occupations on such list are in the health industry, doctors in general. So the wider occupation list would be the ones available for graduates. And for graduates that want to be considered for a state nomination, they must have completed 2 years of study, plus they must have a job offer from a company in WA for at least 6 months, or must have had work experience in their field, in their nominated occupation, for 6 months, also with a local employer. Okay, so that's WA. The next one would be the Northern Territory. So the Northern Territory also reopened for applicants onshore only, right? Now, there's a big backlog with applications in the Northern Territory. So applications are being considered on a first in, first served basis, right? There are many applications still pending from last year, and they want to make sure that those people will be serviced before they can, start considering new applications. The state also has an occupation list, so please refer to that. The minimum requirement is 2 years of study to be considered for a 491 visa, or 2 years of study plus 6 months of full-time work visa. So again, similar to such as a 485 or a sponsorship, to be considered for the visa subclass 190. Okay. Also, very, very important, guys, anyone who wants to be considered by the Northern Territory, you must provide solid evidence of job search. So you got to make sure that you are actively looking for a job, and as part of your application, you must also provide evidence claiming and supporting the fact that you are pursuing a job in your field. Okay, very, very important. Now, the next one after Northern Territory, we're going to go with the Australian Capital Territory, Canberra, right? Australian Capital Territory reopened with the same rules as last year. Very, very, all the same. They also have a list of occupations, but, contrary to other state governments, the ACT, they have a matrix, a points test matrix, which again will consider many variables, the level of English, work experience, whether or not you have studied in ACT, and so on. There are very, very limited spots for most of the occupations. So if you find that your occupation is there, please keep an eye on the number of spots still available. Make sure that you fill out the matrix as best as you can. Make sure that you get as many points as possible to apply with them. Okay. But again, the rules are very, very similar to last year. And at last but not least, we have Tasmania. So Tasmania, unfortunately, at this point in time, they haven't reopened their program yet. We're still waiting for more details and information. We are expecting that we'll get some feedback towards the end of January, maybe early February. Hopefully they will reopen soon. Okay, guys, very, very important. Please bear in mind that all the information that we're providing here might change at any time. So make sure that you keep an eye on, that you follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. Keep an eye on the state government's website as well for more information. And if you have any questions, please make sure you get in touch with us. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.